Welcome to all to this new edition on learning, exchange, and connect. This friendly conversation that we have with experts after 3 years. Today, the topic, women leadership. And I would like to raise to you some questions, for you some boosting your critical thinking. It is needed a women leadership? Where? Is about women or men leadership? How is the role of the civil society on this new challenge? And when I say new challenge, I go for the first one, that is peace, sustainable peace, the sustainable development goal that is the most important, and without the one, we cannot achieve the rest. Even talking about gender equality became irrelevant if we don't see it under the context of peace. However, we are living in a world where we are feeding by war. The feeling that the war is coming instead of conciliation is coming, innovation is coming, diplomacy is coming. That's why, for me, it's a matter of a new leadership of peacemakers. First of all, before we are women or men, we have to be peacemakers and contribute to peace. So it's a matter of power, or it's just influence. When we talk about gender equality, what we are really wondering when we say that, what we really question, well, the role of women. Do we need power to get influence, to be an influence? Or when we influence, we get into power? Today, we are going to answer to all these questions that are so relevant, so controversial. And we have been honored with the presence. Today, there is Sanja Popovic, Lucia De Luca, two global relevant, not only for the topic of the week, pay parity and corporate transformation, and micro, small, and large enterprise, micro, small, and medium enterprises, but also for their message as women and as a women that are peacemaker for themselves. We also having troubles, technical issues, that is part of this new era as well. That is the challenge to enter in the studio. That is our guest of honor, that is Violeta Bulc. Violeta Bulc is trying to enter, so we are waiting for her. So we are going to reschedule our agenda. We are going to give the floor to Sanja Popovic first. Then we are going to pass to Lucia De Luca. And we have the video of a man that is so important also to join with men to get into solution. And it's Giuseppe Tringali, that is our global advisor for She100 Global Networking. We are going to present it later. Now, Sanja Popovic-Pantic from Serbia. You are very welcome, Sanja. We are aware, and I would like to keep this intimate relationship that we have in She100 Networking. We know that you are going through challenging personal situation. We are very grateful and honored that you accept the commitment to be here today. Sanja is a senior research associate, head of the Science and Technology Policy Research Center of Institute Mihailo Papin in Belgrade, president of the Association of Business Women in Serbia, and of course, our dearest She100 Global Chair. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Amar. I'm really very thankful to you for this opportunity, and also grateful for my colleagues that gave me today priority to present because of the personal reasons you mentioned. In the light of the poly-crisis that you just mentioned and that we are facing with through these challenging times, I would like today to be focused to the role of women leaders in the so-called twin transition, which is green transition and digital transition, where women could play a crucial role. So I'm going to share with you the presentation of today. So the title of my presentation is Empowering Women's Leadership, Catalyst for the Twin Transition. First, I would like to share with you some general thoughts and some findings, and after all, I will share with you two good practices of women leaders in green area, in green field, because finally I'm the chair of the global chair for SMEs, and I'm always trying to promote good examples among women entrepreneurs. So first, I would like to make an introduction. So in the realm of sustainable development, the term twin transition has gained significant traction in referring to the concurrent imperatives of addressing climate change and fostering economic growth. As the world grapples with the complex challenges, the role of women's leadership emerges as a pivotal force in driving progress across these dual fronts. Harnessing the full potential of women's leadership not only advances gender equality, but also accelerates the transition to a more sustainable and inclusive future. Why we can think about women leaders as a key to sustainable development? At the heart of the twin transition lies the urgency to combat climate change while promoting economic prosperity. Women's leadership plays a transformative role in both dimensions. Across industries, women leaders bring unique perspectives and priorities that are essential for crafting holistic strategies. Research consistently demonstrates that diverse leadership teams, including gender diversity, are more adept at problem solving and innovation. By amplifying the voices of women in decision-making processes, organizations and governments can unlock new pathways to sustainability and resilience. Speaking about transforming climate action and economic growth, in the fight against climate change, women's leadership is indispensable. Women are disproportionately affected by environmental degradation. Yet they also hold invaluable knowledge and insights for mitigation and adaptation efforts. From rural farmers implementing sustainable agriculture practices to scientists pioneering renewable energy technologies, women are at the forefront of climate action. However, systemic barriers often hinder their participation and recognition in these critical domains. Empowering women's leadership in climate-related sectors is not only a matter of justice, but a strategic imperative for effective and equitable climate solutions. Speaking about this changing world and driving innovation and resilience in this framework, women's leadership could be instrumental in driving inclusive economic growth. Women constitute a substantial portion of the global workforce, yet they face persistent disparities in employment, entrepreneurship, and access to resources. Closing these gender gaps is not only a matter of fairness, but also a catalyst for economic resilience and innovation. When women are empowered as leaders, businesses and economies thrive. Studies show that increasing women's participation in the labor force can boost productivity and GDP growth. Moreover, women leaders are more likely to prioritize investments in healthcare, education, and social welfare, fostering greater equality. How to break barriers and foster inclusion in the twin transition. Crucially, advancing women's leadership in the twin transition requires concerted efforts to dismantle barriers and biases. These necessities policies and initiatives that promote gender parity in leadership roles ensure equal access to education and training and address the intersecting forms of discrimination faced by women, including race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. Moreover, fostering a supportive organizational culture that values diversity and inclusion is essential for nurturing the leadership potential of women at all levels. Now, by the end, I would like to share with you the examples of two innovative companies run by women in this area of green, which is crucial for our sustainable development, especially when we speak about health and food for the future. Bioprocessia is a biotechnology company with the aim to contribute to a more circular agri-food industry with a lower environmental impact. They help the animal production sector feed their animals in a profitable, healthy, and sustainable way. Their proprietary microbial fermentation technology can extract high value from byproducts of the agri-food sector, transforming them into natural ingredient with a high protein content for the production of sustainable feed. I think we can all understand this, and not more than this. And another company is Eco Bio Invest, which offers an innovative solution for reducing single-use plastics and food waste using bio and organic materials that are fully solvable. Their solution, tailored for flexible plastics, represents a sustainable alternative that addresses urgent environmental challenges and promotes the transition to a circular economy. And last but not the least is Eat Me Up application for phones, startup tackling food waste by connecting supermarkets with consumers through a digital marketplace. Their innovative solution allows customers to purchase food close to expiration at discounted prices, reducing waste and benefiting both consumers and retailers. So I think the examples were inspiring, and that it could really lead us to sustainable development if we put an effort to include more women in these mentioned areas in twin transition. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Sania. Our guest in this event, that is Elcita Pacheco Irijogen. She said 4 hertz. Yes, that we love it. Yes, we love it. Your presentation.
Thanks so much.
Yes, I love this combination, this link that you made. Where we have, we need to see the women leadership in a context. Climate change is also a challenging content. I have to take care because it could prevent many women to get into leadership position. Then you went to the idea of values. This is very important for all what you say. I would like to take that values. How is important to build values in a diversity society. And finally, the practical aspect. You are highlighting the power of an entrepreneurship, women in entrepreneurship with innovative project. This is something that women have to change their mindset and to be able to accept the challenge, to make innovative project without fear, and with this Pygmalion, the Pygmalion trauma that is always over there. Lucia, thank you so much, Sania. Lucia, do you want to make any comments related to Sania's presentation?
No, thank you, Sania. What I always like in your presentation, it is very grounded, because you see that you are a woman of leadership and power. So you're really grounded in the real situation, and which is actually, and also bringing examples, because the question of this talk today that Mar shared with us, it's really like more a philosophical question, and then I will touch on the philosophical part. But what I like is really to see that because the situation is so different, like Sania, it depends on your country, the area of the world you live in. Everything is possible in certain areas and not in others. So I very much like, and also the specific, so specific also with the names of the companies, because they are implementing this sort of like a transformative change. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But one company came from Spain, another came from Serbia. The Eco Bio Invest is from Serbia, and Bioprocessa is from Spain.
So, from philosophy to practical projects is possible. Yeah, exactly. It's possible. It's not just a theoretical debate. We can make it in practice. So, Sania, thank you so much. You are always inspired. So, for the ones that don't know you, it's time for search for you and see your project. For us, we get used to that, and when we get used to excellence, we don't get surprised because it's exactly what we were expecting for you. So, thank you so much, Sania. We know that you have to leave now, so you feel free.
Apologizes from my side, and many thanks for your understanding. I'm so sorry that I would not be able to listen to Lucia, and probably Violetta if she joined. That's also great gift for the audience, but nevertheless, next time, hopefully I will be fully with you.
For
Thanks
sure.
a lot for it. It was my pleasure. Goodbye, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Take care.
Well, and we continue in this challenging session that we have today. Today with Lucia De Luca, our dearest Lucia De Luca, Strategic Outreach Partnership, Dr. HC, Gender Equality Champion, former MD, Women Political Leaders, Communities Builder, a Scientific Risk Communicator, and of course, she 100 Global Chair, Pay Parity and Corporate Transformation, one out of 100 global leaders. Lucia, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Mar. A lot of words to, I think, introduce me and somebody, and it's a little bit like the, my resume is a little bit the expression of the world we live in today and the adaptability, I guess, that we need to get, to thrive in the current context. But so, Mar, you asked us to reflect about, the concept of leadership, in particular women leadership, and whether it is more a matter of power or influence. I actually, your question goes back to a dichotomy, which is actually that of seeing power as authority and influence as a persuasion. And I'd like to talk with you about this today, because I think that the situation has changed, because the traditional concept of power is that of somebody who has got power over other people, so can command, can ask, can dictate what to do. And in that kind of context, power is a capacity or is a status that you do have because somebody passed it on to you, somebody gave it to you, or you are in that position. And needless to say that this kind of capacity of power, it's mainly men, right? Because actually it's the results of the past centuries. We are living in structures or societal structures which are mainly operate the way they operated 50, 60 years ago, and which were created by men who were at the time really, pacing the way. So on the contrast, when we talk about influence, we talk more about the ability to modify a situation or a behavior or a person, more based on persuasion, as I said, but also relationship, what I'd like to discuss before. But the traditional concept of power, we can also say that indeed, the inequalities in general and inequality in pay, salary or pay, is indeed a story of unequal power. The fact, so we shouldn't be surprised that a power which has been conceived as, with a certain part of the population dominating, of course, that part that was dominating was, of course, setting the rules of the game, also when it comes to salary. So that's why we are dealing with this, with differentiation in pay. But there is an analysis which actually was published by the American Bar Association, which looked at 185 firms in the US, and which look at what made change, what made a change in the inequalities within companies. And the element with change, one of the elements was the bargaining power. So the power to bargain, to ask, to fight, or to try to get to a different pay. So in this bargaining power, reduce the pay gap between executive but also non-executive employees. And funny enough, this bargaining power was successful when the CEO was recruited from outside of the company, for example, but less when the CEO had a finance background. There again, we are looking at a system in which, the traditional system of power is mainly, it's created by a certain part of the population, maybe men. Finance is an area of activities which was mainly dominated by men. And of course, a CEO with a finance background is less receptive to reducing the gap, because it's a question of power. So I do have the power. Why do I have to to reduce inequalities also when it comes to pay. But what has changed? Because many things have changed. If you're asking the question at the beginning, Mar, is because also your question resonates from something which is going on. And today, my understanding is that today influence is the new power, because in nowadays and in the last couple of decades, also the role of new systems of interaction or social media have created a society in which the barriers are less strict in some parts, in which, for example, the civil society has much more bigger voice, also because it's using social media and other trends, to express their views. Also, the younger generation is much more vocal, not to talk about some areas of the world like Asia or Africa, where actually the younger generation is the biggest part of the society, not like in Europe, where we both sit and where actually the medium age is much higher. But so in those parts of the world, or actually there is a new demand of a new use of influence. So people are more present, can talk more, can ask more, but it's an influence with a purpose. It's an influence not for the sake of it, but with a purpose. And this a very blatant example is like the famous role that influencers do play, because influencers in different areas could be like from interior designer or the way you dress up, etc. These are people that do move millions of dollars, millions of euros with their ads, with their points of view. And so this is the new way, because they, with their influence, which didn't start as a power, so nobody gave them that power, nobody put them on that situation like you are now the CEO, you decide, but they gained that influence, and then their influence now is giving them power to move money, power to create a new trends in the society. So we have singers that, famous singer that every time she says that you people have to go and vote, in the US people go and vote. So if this is not power, she has more power than politicians. So this is an element which I think has changed, and which we are also in our work in different areas seeing. And this kind of new power, this influence, is something which is not given to us, but something that we need to be developed. It's a new skill or an ability that we need on which we need to work on. And in so much that, for example, if you now look at the way we do define power over time, in the last of maybe I think 10 years, the definition of power has changed, because now we don't talk only about power, but we talk about power in connection with empowerment, in particular when it comes to women on some parts of the population. And we talk about power within, power with, power over, and power to. So we go for a very traditional word, which is that power. You coupled it with the word influence, right? But in between, also the literature is talking about power in different forms. So there is a transformation, and there is, of course, also in this new the way we use influence is not as simple as before, because once the power is there of a financial big CEO is there, you have it. But when it comes a power which is acquired through influence, of course, to stay in place in the medium long term, because that's what leadership is, you need a different aspect. You need, of course, a legislatory framework. So you need rules and laws in countries which allow people of different working in different areas of the society, or women to, for example, maintain a certain, have roles of power, or they put quota or similar situation. And then also you have big corporates who have implemented different practices to ensure that new leaders can come to the top, to the surface, and not the traditional one. But also the role of networking, which is super important, because in this influence is also created with the relationship you do have, relationship with you do create, a networking which you do, and which also have create impact and can create influence. So the new leaders is, the leader with the different kinds of leadership. If a leader that is as amongst his key function that of networking and build the relationship. And this is unfortunately due to different reasons we have discussed, ample times before. is the fact is something that, for example, women in some parts, in some societies, have more difficulties in doing, because networking requires time, and when you have to devote your time to other errands or to other, to other activities within the family, this is different. But I think the new generation is working on a different path. So I think that if we, going back to your question, whether it's influence, or it's if leadership is about power of influence, I think we need to discuss today that source of power also has the role that persuasion has, collaboration has, consultation with peers through networking, and also inspiration has. In this, I think that those key elements, put around a person who is developing his leadership skills. In particular, we're talking about women. A woman also allows to get more, to the top, and to create a new system, a new way of leadership. I think that also, and what maybe I could like to conclude with, it's the fact that in terms of leadership, power remains an important element. Unfortunately, is there, and that's why we need regulatory situation and changes, or corporate changes, that give women more power, really de facto power. But also influence is as important as power, and influence is something which should be seen as is a long-lasting effect. And somehow, the power goes away because you are dismissed from your situation for whatever reasons. But the influence you have created, if it's a true one, it lasts longer. And also the fact that in the new leader, the creation of teams which are different, and we are which actually brings on people who also think different than you do. So diverse team also generate a long-lasting influence, and ultimately can increase your power. Furthermore, and I think this is a different concept of versus the traditional power, which is that maybe some men or some people have, is the fact that we don't have to fear losing power, because also the ability that we have, the capacity to delegate, can also allow people and leaders to focus on the more important task, which is that to develop the leadership. And so focusing on high-level tasks instead of doing a little bit of everything and losing that persona of power that you have. And also the biggest element, and I think, Mar, this we say it and we re-say it, and this is actually the mantra of your group, is that to create network, because it's the larger the network, the larger the influence you can have, and the larger the impact. And when you have impact, you've got power. And that's why we also got to some changes when it comes to equality and pay parity, also to some regulation which were approved at European level, for example, because actually the influence through the networks which we have created a change, generated a change, and this change, it's now a power. And so for me, going back to your question, if it's power or influence, I think it's a matter of both, with a tendency to use much more influence than the mere concept of power which we had maybe 30 or 40 years ago.
Thank you so much, Lucia, for this amazing presentation. And also, I would like to highlight some aspects of what you say. And thank you so much for being so accurate in answering the question. I was so open to anyone to the way they would like to reply, and you were directly to the point. And I love that, because not all the people are happy or feel encouraged to speak about what is power, which is a women with power, because it's much easier to talk about these empowered women. And when we talk about empowerment, many women, and I love to do this exercise of self-critical in terms of women networks, that is, I am empowering women. So, and you don't see they are a leader that is empowered. You see a woman with power that is different to be empowered. And these things is really very important. No? So thank you for bringing that to the table.
Thank you, Mar. Thank you, Mar. I think it's not a clear cut. Your answer, I think, was put there just to create some discussions among us, right? And but I think that the even, I mean, if you go on your search engine and you put the word power, and you click on images, and there again, you see the images that do come up, and they are not, it's not that of an inclusive power, but we do know that those engine searches are created by male men around the age of 40, so we shouldn't be surprised about that. But the influence and the talks that we are having nowadays about AI and about the way we structure also the new AI, these are important because these raise the flag and allow us to change. So that's what I'm saying, is that we shouldn't dismiss the fact. I mean, the fact that I think the number of people who detain the majority of power in the world can be counted on 10, on two hands. These we're not going to change it now, and I think that we are even going to change in a couple of years. But the influence which we can create, this has an impact, and it's there that we should focus.
Totally agree. In the end, the only tangible aspect of this challenging, controversial, also topic we have is that we could do it right now. And right now, we could try to influence through a networking. It's the only thing that we could do. And if there is some power that we have, a small power, is that. And also, when you say losing power, many women networks fail because of that. Because everything is on one, and it's not a charismatic leader. Sometimes it's just a leader, for example, organization that depends from public funds. That I see that it's not a matter of charismatic, it's just a bureaucratic organization that contributes greatly. But when you take just one, then you start. So that's what I love from 100, because it's not a matter of hierarchy, but responsibility and commitment. The more you want to engage, the more responsibility you have. And that is something that makes us innovative. And this is something that I feel very, very proud, and it's joyful for me to say, look, I belong to a platform that is aligned with my thoughts and in coherence. Say we are all leaders, and we could develop in our areas the way we like it, and we do a true work on advocacy. So we can have this reivindication part. That the reivindication part in activism had bring power, especially for political leaders. And I will end saying this: many political leaders start taking from the civil society and their exercise activism. That's why you see it on the street claiming. So you say, where is the limit? Because if you do that as a political leader, this is a different power. It's a political power. Where is the role of the civil society? And this is the way where I start, So how we could reshape the civil society and distribute the power instead of taking everything from the political sector, Please, Lucia. Lucia, are you there? We're having a really session absolutely challenging today. We are not going to get frustrated. We are just going to go ahead. We'll lose Lucia with the internet. Violeta Bull couldn't get it. Sania Popovic had personal problems, so we apologize for that. And we go to the other speaker, a man. Why not? We need a man on leadership. This is a women-men task. To get into sustainable societies, we need men and women. That's why it's so important that we create a solid relationship and we try to solve any problem that is there, any challenge that we could face with men. So for that, we have a man totally commitment, totally engaged with this women platform. This our G100 Global Networking Global Advisor that is Giuseppe Tringali. He's a vice president of the International Advisory Board of IA University, president top board of Head Spring, IA at FT, director of the Foundation Vodafone Spain, director of Foundation EFE, senior advisor of Pedersen and Partners, former CEO and VP Mediaset TV Spain. So we are going to welcome his words. So here is his message. Thank you.
For inviting me to speak about female leadership. When you think of leadership, you think of power and influence. Traditionally, leadership was often associated with the power, which manifested itself through authority, control, and decision-making. However, the modern workplace has evolved, and outward displays of strengths are no longer the only indicators of effective leadership. On the other hand, the influence transcends formal authority and involves inspiring others, shaping opinions, and driving change without necessarily holding a position of power. Women leaders have proven that influence can have as much impact as power. Their ability to inspire, collaborate, and foster positive organizational culture has reshaped leadership paradigms. Precisely for this reason, I believe it's important to delve deeper into leadership styles, and in landmark 1992 meta-analysis conducted by psychologist Alice Eagly revealed that female leaders often exhibit more transformational leadership styles. They inspire commitment, align teams with the organizational mission, and emphasize growth and development. Eagly itself in 2020, regarding competence and perception, she found that women are now perceived as equally or more competent than men. Over time, stereotypes about skills have changed, and outdated beliefs about gender-related abilities have evolved. Despite everything, even if progress has been achieved, women still have a difficulty asserting their authority and success. This does not mean that the growth of women in political, entrepreneurial, and educational leadership roles has stopped. Promoting leadership among women is essential to fostering diversity, equity, and organizational success. In my opinion, to obtain the best results, various things are necessary, which I will now try to list, and which could also be a stimulus for debate. I consider important to recognize the leadership potential in women from the beginning of their career. Implement development programs aimed at nurturing female talent that may include mentorship, training, and exposure to leadership roles. Encourage men to be allies in promoting women's leadership. It's very important that men who support equal opportunities challenge prejudice and amplify women's voice. Obtain the active support of a current leader through mentorship, willingness to provide visibility and opportunity. Pairing women with experience as leaders helps them navigate their careers and build networks. Develop and enforce a policy that promotes gender equality, encouraging a culture of respect, fairness, and collaboration. Educate employees about biases and their impact. Use inclusive language that avoids reinforcing stereotypes. Support work-life balance by offering flexible schedules, remote working option, and family-friendly policy. provide leadership training especially tailored to women, focused, for example, on negotiation, communication, and strategy thinking. Entrust women with the critical project and the challenging task. Exposure to diverse experiences improves leadership skills. Highlights successful women leaders within the organization because their story inspire others and demonstrate what is possible. Publicly recognize the achievement of women through awards, conference, and internal communications. Set measurable goals to increase the representation of women in leadership roles, evaluate the progress and hold the leaders accountable for diversity and inclusion outcomes. Promoting women in leadership is not just about achieving gender balance, but also about unlocking the full potential of organization, achieving better results and creating a more equal world. In conclusion, women's leadership is not just about influence, it's about harnessing their power to creative, positive organization transformation. We must continue to promote gender diversity, recognize the merit of women, and the strategic importance of having female leadership. Thank you very much, and good work.
You're here, Lucia. Thank you.
Yes, the system kicked me out, but because of influence and the resignation, I got back in again.
Thank you. It's so rewarding. I don't know your impression, but for me, it's so rewarding to see a man like Giuseppe, a top CEO. In his life, he developed as a businessman, a top CEO, and he's not just saying women as an influencer. They say no, women have to take power. You know, yeah. and no, it's so fascinating to hear, and we say thank you so much, Giuseppe, for your wonderful inspiration and your support. No, he highlights training, networking. No? So all elements that we talk about, but we don't have any structure. Don't you think, Lucia? With all these elements of reforms of the labor market, do we have any structure on that?
Well, I think that indeed, thanks to the influence which some people have created, we managed, at least in Europe last year, to get approved a directive which forces or imposes on company to have a certain amount of leaders in their C-suite, so in their highest ranking. And that's what we said, Mar, when I was talking at the beginning about the importance of, to be sustainable, to have an impact, you do need a structure, being a political structure, if we're talking about, women in politics, but even the society itself, or corporates can do a lot. And because most of the corporates are led by men, we know that there are very good numbers, but we still complain about whether we have less than 50% of CEO, etc. So who holds the power? And that's why you do need people that hold the power, like Giuseppe, like many others that are around there, which are amazing. They are doing a great job because they ensure that people can go up. How many times have you heard, also talking to friends, like, oh yeah, I'm looking for this and that position in my department, but there are no women, is there right? If you look at correctly, is HR looking correctly? Is HR not, uses standardized ways of looking for certain profiles, So, and then if you have a CEO which says, I do want equality, I do want 50%. So the team underneath, even if it's not ready, they have to do. So that's where actually you use power, if you do have power, in a proactive way, because people like Giuseppe and others, they've realized that the fact that the equal representation in companies can create much more better companies, which are much more agile and respond to the needs for companies to thrive. So that's I think you and I, we do insist on the fact that we don't want to have those conversations to happen among women's only, because actually we need to have, the power is not there yet, so we need to have these discussions with those people, most of the time men, not exclusively, who do have power and who can put a change. So the structures are not there. In some countries there are, in some areas like in Europe there is a demand. But then when the legislative structures is not there, then the company itself can kick in and can implement its own rules, like MasterCard did it a couple of years back, for example. So corporates can be really visionary and go ahead of legislative change or regulatory change.
It make me reflect on different aspects of what you say. First of all, when we are talking about structure, we tend to say that it's global structure. We need a global structure of what is gender equality. However, we cannot do the same in Middle East as we could do it in Europe. And you highlighted that, well, in different countries, you say it's not like Europe. So it's very difficult to build a global structure on these aspects if we don't take into account traditions or culture. No? So I am not talking about violence against women. I'm talking about what is labor market, what is priorities of their own women. The more traditional societies will reject this model from their own women. From the women will reject it because they don't want that. So for me, individual freedom had to be before what is a sustainable idealistic idea. For me, it's very important to respect that, the choices for the women, especially when they are related to family and their labor choices. More than of course, it will suppose a growth on GDP, global GDP. If there are more women working, but for me, it's something that have to be in a second place. So, and then in relation, particularly in what is corporate transformation, you see that you focus on what is political. For you, everything comes from the political sector, is the one who have to promote and have to give the framework. I'm not exactly in favor of that, because I think we need to reboost, to keep the balance with the political sector. We keep to the community leaders. I think the community leaders are really the future, at least for the next decade. So I'm talking about medium term, that the society had to be reshaped to a point that the community leaders really find their way of what they really want, and not just delegate on what is the political sector. And not because they don't have to be wrong, but it just have to be part of it. It's the only way for me that a woman could distribute the power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is maybe this is a source of another debate, right, Mar? I mean, we live in democracy, which we have a representative power, and hence, our politicians are in theory supposed to be there to represent us and to ensure that the society goes in the direction they should go. And then the community leaders and the social society, they do have a massive role, because actually they also do talk to their politicians. They also do impact and influence their politician for change. I mean, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that regulatory changes is the only way. It's certainly the most the easiest way, the shortcut, because if there is a law that requires you to have 70% of women in leadership position, then you have to abide to it. Of course, this is not the case, because we know that in some countries does not exist. And that's why when I was talking about the role of influence, how important it is that influence has generated this. I mean, the change so the regulation which came into force in the EU didn't come out of the blue. It came also because you have a civil society who is pushing more and more and more, and demanding. So for me, those two elements goes hand in hand, because I mean, politicians change, the society actually has a much more medium long-term view on what is needed. So I think that and corporates as well, I think that there are visionary corporate or big companies that can really set the pace if they want,
as they have done it in many cases. For example, with plastic, with sustainable products, they have done it from the private sector. So in the same, we could say that we could make a parallel with this topic. Lucia, we have to end now this challenging session, the same as the topic. We have been aligned in what is the nature of women leadership, a matter of power, a matter of influence. whatever you are in that position, if you are in a position of power, try to influence. If you are an influencer, try to gain power just to be fair, to get into a fair society, not to get this power, this individual power that not necessarily goes with the agenda. We don't need really a political agenda, a global. We need that the agenda from the civil society get into politics. For my end, I think we have done the best of this session with you, with Sania, with Giuseppe. Thank you so much for joining me in this just a small part of influence. Our next stop is the European Union Parliament in Strasbourg next 23rd of April. We're going to join in true action. That is to join with organizations, civil society, the pure civil society as we are. We join in what is an European organization so relevant as the Parliament, and we are so excited with this. Lucia, 1 minute, and we go.
I would like to thank you, and indeed, it's a conversation that should go on. And let's exercise our power and require and request it when needed. Absolutely. I mean, we need to require it. We need to use it. Sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. So you just have to use the power as is there.
You are a woman of power, Lucia. Thank you so much for joining.